This is my session where I basically show how to fix the Ubuntu PPA. Happy Saturday, everyone. So I'm going to use Virtual Machine Manager, which is a graphical interface to libvirt, which I was planning on making a video too, but it's kind of a big topic, and I wasn't exactly sure how to begin, so I figured it'd be easiest to just go ahead and show how to use it rather than try to tell you why you should use it. And so I've already downloaded the Ubuntu image, the ISO, and so I'm going to go ahead and just add the virtual machine. And so I've added it to the directory, this one right here, the varlib libvirt images, and that's where the default storage location is for such things, for libvirt. And so I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And so it is right here, Ubuntu 20.04. And so you'll notice that it's not automatically detected here, and that's just because I'm running Debian Stable, and so it's a little old. And so it came out before 20.04, came out last year, in 2019. And so I'm going to use this for building, and so I want to have, definitely want to have at least 8 CPUs, and I guess, what is it? Do a little quick math here. This much RAM. And I'm definitely going to need quite a bit of storage space, so let's say maybe 50 gigs. And let's call this machine focal. And one thing is that I have a bit of a, I guess it's not too crazy of a network setup, but sometimes I've noticed that this network selection is not correct by default. So if you have Docker installed, for example, it'll try to set it to the Docker network interface rather than this guy right here, just the default NAT network. So just go ahead and click finish. One thing that's really interesting about libvirt is that you can actually, beyond just making kernel virtual machines, which are very performant, and they run as, the syscalls inside the VM run as if they're actually being done by your host kernel. And so it's, like I said, very performant. But you can also actually do emulation through QEMU. So for example, you can run ARM 64 machines or PowerPC 64 and so forth. And so this is actually the first time I tried Ubuntu 20.04. I guess I tried it before the official release, but I always use KDE, and so I haven't tried the Gnome Desktop version. And so it's interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to trying it because I remember reading that people in Canonical had done, I guess, quite a bit of work to improve the performance. I'm not sure if it was in Canonical or someone in Gnome itself. But that was always one of the main criticisms that I had for the Gnome Desktop, is that the performance was not necessarily great. The other one is that you have necessary, in my opinion, functionality that's locked behind extensions. And so, you know, it's like you can trust the GNOME people to have secure updates, but if you have like an auto-updating extension from a third-party developer that has access to your Linux desktop, you know, it's like that, it's fairly powerful. And so I just didn't really like the security model for that. And this is one of the things I was kind of not looking forward to with running this, is that there's going to be quite a bit of build time. And this is unusual. I don't usually see this when I create a new virtual machine. So I guess one thing I can do, though, as while waiting, I should also probably announce that I'm live. Okay, yeah, so I guess I can go ahead and just get started probably with a build. Let's see. So what was I even doing? I don't really remember. Okay, so you can see the last time I was working on this was back in June. Oops, one more. Yeah, and so this is kind of getting to the problem here. One of the things I'm going to do is once this installation finishes, I'm curious why it's doing this. I guess maybe I'll just cancel it. No, it's not working. Why am I checking in i386.deb? But yeah, so the problem is Qt 5 and PySide 2, and so I had uploaded. Let's see, how do I explain this? So the PySide 2 version needs to match the PySide 2 minor version needs to match the Qt 5 minor version. And so, for example, if you have Qt 5 5.14, then you need to have PySide 2 5.14 as well. And so I had uploaded 5, I think in Qt, let's see, let me take a look. Let me open a couple windows here. So this is the Debian package tracker. This is a pretty useful utility. And so if you look back here, yeah, right here. So Raphael Herzog helped upload this 5.14. The problem was that, let's see, so this was January 18th. And so if you kind of come back here, you can see it was at 5.12 that we were on. And so not only was there some problems with that version mismatch, but specifically there's, I guess, code compiling and resource compiling tools that are in PySide 2 that were removed in that particular version. And so they only are provided by Qt 5 of that version, and because it wasn't available yet, there was no way to actually make those files. And so, for example, when you open like the draft workbench, it uses one of those generated Python files, and because it was broken, draft was broken, and then every workbench that depends on draft was broken too. And so it was a pretty bad situation. I have pizza on the way, by the way. Let me make a little OBS scene for that. Call it pizza break. You know, one thing I've been doing recently, I've been typing for so long in my life, but for some reason I almost always use left shift instead of right shift. And so I noticed I started to kind of get, I guess, hand discomfort from certain combinations of left shift where you really have to kind of contort your hand. And so I finally started actually using right shift, and it's been so amazing. It's like learning to type on home row again. I think I might put some music on. I'm curious to see how that'll affect the sound. I might mute it or turn it down for everyone else, especially if I'm going to put it on YouTube. Man, this is, I gotta say, an unpleasant first experience with Ubuntu 20.04. I wasn't really expecting it to take this long. I'm kind of curious why. Oh, you know what though? I don't actually really need to use libvirt. I can use LXD, and so I think I might just do that. And I don't even know if I really need a VM. So I guess LXD launch. Is this the syntax? Can't remember what the image, if it's the code name or the version, but let's try. Let me make this text a little bit bigger. That might help everyone. And if you haven't tried LXD, I highly recommend it. It's very, very cool. And you know, it's sort of a, say, it's an interface on top of LXC, the Linux containers interface, I guess, which I think is in the kernel. So you have like this Go-based daemon that provides like a REST API and clustering and some other nice features. And so it sits on top of LXC, and then it also now supports QEMU and KVM. And so you just have like a --VM flag that you can add. And so you can just do this. So here we are. And so I don't think, is FreeCAD even in the, okay, so it is. And so, let's see. Okay, so this is not available. So I think what I need to install this package maybe. So I'm going to go ahead and try to add the PPAs. I think it's just going to say something about no release file. It's very weird. One of the many weird things about this pandemic is the blending of days, and so, you know, Saturday, it feels a lot like all the other days. I don't know about you. Okay, so this is done, and so I want to go ahead and add the repository. Yeah, let's add this one first. Okay, yeah, and so it does not have a release file. And so I think I've created a file here. Yeah, so I want to go ahead and remove that file. I guess the same thing's going to happen here, so there's no real reason to do that. So I guess what I'll go ahead and do then, so it's very frustrating that this VM is still misbehaving. What is going on here? Hold until boot process finishes up. I wonder why this happened. Okay, that's the dangers of live coding. I figured that this would be very routine, just creating a VM, but I guess not. Okay, and so I want to install SSH. One of the cool things about LXC and LXD, I guess, is that once you you create your VM and you know, install some software on it, like let's say Firefox, for example, then you SSH. You can then just do SSH with X tunneling, and because it's on your same machine, you don't really have the network performance penalties that you normally have with SSH X tunneling, and so you have a very lightweight way or quick way of having this sort of sandboxed execution environment, but it's still, you know, let's say in Debian or Ubuntu or whatever you're familiar with. And so I don't think I have, one of the problems with LXD is the DNS resolution is not exactly there yet. So for example, in libvirt, it uses NSS or libNSS, the name switch service. And so for example, if I have I guess it doesn't work because this VM is not actually up yet, but because I have this VM named Focal, if I were to just do ping Focal, it would normally work if it actually was up yet. So if I started one of these other VMs, for example. So I think I'm probably just going to actually kill this and try again and just see if it happens again. One of the things is that the first boot of the VM in libvirt, it has the disk actually mounted, and so when you know, in the first boot, that disk is no longer mounted, and so you just have to go in there and remount it. And so you just go to the SATA CD-ROM, find the disk again, and then it's mounted. Then we need to go to the boot options as well because that got turned off, and so we need to update that. And so now if I just restart it, it'll be as if I had just done it the first time again. And so now we just are going to get a live session. I guess no, actually, that may have been part of the problem. I don't want a live session. I want to just go straight to the installer. Okay, and so yeah, I don't think I have name resolution. Yeah, I don't. So I'm gonna have to use the IP address. And it's possible to set that up, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. Because, for example, you need like systemd resolved or something like that, where you have a per interface DNS setting. And so because I'm using Debian Stable, it doesn't use systemd resolved by default. Okay, and so yeah, I just need to go ahead and first SSH to this machine. Oh, yeah, you probably should create a user too. Okay, and then what I want to do, I want to log in, create my SSH directory, and then I want to use LXC file push. And then I'm just going to go ahead and move that to this file. And then I should be able to do that. Oh, no, okay, I think I have a permissions problem. Oh yeah, I don't need sudo. I don't even think I have sudo installed. There we go. Okay, so permissions fixed. Okay, and so now I can SSH, and so because I have FreeCAD, I should just be able to do this. Oh, okay, maybe. Did I install FreeCAD? I did not install FreeCAD. Okay, so I should do that. And then, let's see, get back to the building. Ooh, that's ugly. Okay. What is going on here? Did I not pick the installer? You just mash down. Oh, this is ugly. So yeah, I mean, this seems like a regression in terms of my experience installing Ubuntu, which I've done many times. I don't know what the hell is going on here, to be honest. I think I'm going to update my KDE Neon VM. checking my socials real quick while these installations run. Oh, and of course, it looks like I announced July 10th. Saturday, July 10th. The impossible day. Okay, and so now I have, just to show you the libnss behavior, so I have this Neon VM, and so I can just do SSH Neon, and that works. And so the way that works is that you have this file, nsswitch.conf, and so you have this, basically it's like a name database switch service. And so, for example, you have like your password database, and so you can have this files lookup, and so that looks in like etc password or whatever, etc shadow, and then it falls back to systemd, and so then you can have sort of more functionality there. And so you see in the hosts line, then it's kind of similar. You have files, so that would like look up in etc hosts, for example, libvirt guest, and so that if I have a VM that has a host name versus a VM that has a VM name, it will look up those two. And so then you have MDNS, multicast DNS, and so that would be things like, I have an interesting device here, I'll show you. So it's very cool. It's pretty crazy compared to what I had when I was a kid. But so this is a Raspberry Pi Zero W, and so it's got like this little adapter that it sits on, a USB adapter, and so you just plug this thing into your USB, and then it has a serial connection, so you can SSH into it, and so you can actually have, it's almost like an ARM coprocessor through USB, where you can just plug it into, like, let's say a Windows machine, fire up PuTTY, if like let's say you're on a school computer lab or something like that, fire up PuTTY, and then you can have this thing that it can actually be your sort of standard Linux environment. Okay, and so let me just give this guy a little update. And so my FreeCAD installation is done, and so I should now be able to go ahead and do my, yep, there we go, SSH X tunneling of FreeCAD. Okay, and so I want to run the tests, but it's going to hijack my screen. And so let me hold off on that for a sec. So unpleasant what's going on here with this. Can I cancel this? Okay, and so it looks like we can see that maybe that problem here. So there's actually a problem with the default package, which I'm going to have to fix separately from the PPA. Yeah, I know, right? So it's pretty crazy. Let me pull up the picture of my first computer here. My first computer was a 23-pound laptop, and so the idea of this thing being this small, it just absolutely blows my mind. Yeah, so this was my first computer. I got it from a garage sale in the late 90s when I was a kid, and so it's amazing. It's like this was actually really difficult to even carry as a child. Okay, and so this is interesting. If you've ever used KDE Neon, it's a sort of a special distribution, and so they use if you try to do like apt upgrade, sudo apt upgrade, for example, it'll give you a warning, and it actually tells you to use package-kit, which is an interface on top of apt, and also other package managers, so like RPMs and Yum, I guess, and stuff like that. Although you can see that there's some bugs here with the terminal display, because when I first ran it, it had a prompt for like my password that kind of got overwritten here. You can say authenticating for, and then you have these progress bars on the left, and then you have a proceed with changes below it, and so it kind of just doesn't even know what to do as far as where to write stuff on the screen. Okay, and so this Focal VM installation is still kind of just being useless over here, and so I don't know. I guess I'll go ahead and just run the tests. And this, actually, let me just first make sure, will Draft Workbench even open? No, so Draft Workbench did not open. And so report view, unknown draft command. Oh, that's ugly. Okay, and so I guess what I can do is, so I want to find, there's a file that I know it's basically, I'm assuming will be broken in a particular way, and so I just want to take a look at it. And I think its name is draft_rc.py. Okay, yeah, and so here we are. Let's take a look. Yeah, so this is not, well, I guess this might be okay. So it may be that I don't have the correct PyQt5 file, or PyQt5 package installed. So I guess I could just install all of the PyQt5. And so I think I have a FreeCAD, yeah, Python 3 FreeCAD. Is there even a Python 2? Interesting. Did they do Python 2 removal in 2004? Anyway, so I guess I can just install all of these. It's kind of a, it's not the best. Can I just do this? Let's see how this goes. Maybe this will be sufficient. Yeah, and one of the things about the Raspberry Pi too, besides the fact that it's just like this tiny little computer that's fully capable and everything like that, it's like you still have the GPIO pins and stuff like that, and so you can do all sorts of crazy electronic projects and stuff like that, as long as your power draw is not too big, because everything is coming from USB through the Pi. And so if you're plugged into a computer, you just don't have that much to work with. Okay, and so my update is done, so I'm just going to turn this guy off. Okay, and so I guess I need to close this and let's relaunch it and see. I think last time I actually got warnings, so this may be enough. Oh, okay, so that worked. Okay, so let me go ahead and try to run the test then. So that would be nice. That would mean that the actual Ubuntu package, the only problem is that it doesn't install the correct dependencies. So I guess I should probably, oh man. This is one of the frustrating things about running the FreeCAD test, is it takes over your desktop because it opens up windows and things like that. Oh man. Okay. Oh, libnglib. Oh man. Oh, NetGen. It's kind of a pain. Okay, so I guess I can do the cheap fix for that. And so the problem, we have a NetGen package. So actually, yeah, I want to install NetGen and NetGen headers. It's so frustrating. I want to share something with you guys. Or you folks, I should say. Just in case. So the Debian New Queue, when you upload a new package to Debian, whether it's brand new or it's a new version of something, so like let's say if there was a Python 4, then the package name would change, and so we would need a new package. And so every time you do that, it has to go through this queue, and it has this sort of archaic review process. I guess I shouldn't necessarily say archaic, it's highly constrained in terms of requirements because of legal considerations. And so, for example, the person who's reviewing the package, they have a very crude interface, and it's something that the Debian project probably needs to improve. But anyway, yeah, so here's the new queue. This is the list of all the packages. So you can see there's quite a few packages. Yes, yeah, it keeps going. So yeah, there's a lot. And so up here at the very top, the very oldest package in new is NetGen. And so look at this. Age. Uploaded 26th of February 2019. And so it's frustrating because it's like there are, I guess, complications with this package, but I already know what the fix is. And so it's like if we could just upload this version, then I could fix the issues that are causing it to take so long. And so we're like 17 months in, about 16 and a half maybe months since I uploaded this. And so, yep, it's the oldest package. I have the dubious honor. Okay, and so, let's see. I wish I hadn't closed that, the test, because I don't remember which one actually failed. Oh, here we go. But it doesn't actually say what test it was in. I'm assuming it was in the finite element workbench, so isn't there a test fim here? Maybe I'll just try switching to the fim workbench, see how that goes. Hey, okay, so that's enough, right? And so I cannot open libnglib.so. So here's a useful trick if you use Debian or Ubuntu, is the apt file package. So after you install it, you have to run apt update again, because if you notice, you have this new line here, contents, that's 40 megabytes. And that's the listing of all the files in all the packages. And so then you can go in and do something like apt file search nglib.so. And so then you can see that's where that is. And so I remember this bug now. The fix is just one fix, not really the best fix, but I just need to do a symlink, create a symlink, because it's not in the LD path or whatever. So that should be sufficient. And let me switch. libinterface.so. Oh, that's ugly. And so I'm guessing that's in I don't know. I guess I'll just do this. Symlink all of it. Okay, and so it failed partially because of the existing one. Excuse me. But the other one succeeded, so I should be able to proceed. Okay, and so that workbench runs. So I'm going to go ahead and do the test again, and hopefully that should just pass. I'm surprised my pizza hasn't gotten here yet. Oh no! Backend.qt4 is not a valid RC parameter. That's weird. I don't think that's going to be fixable. It's like a problem with the build time problem with the plot workbench. What a pain, what a pain. I'm getting a little distracted. I don't want to fix the actual focal package. I just want to fix the PPA. And so I guess the thing I should go ahead and do is actually try to be building that package. Let's see. So that's one problem. Okay. And so then let me just take note of this problem. I think just copy the whole thing. Oh, and the ship workbench actually failed. Okay. Well, that's okay. And so now we're actually going to go ahead and get to building the package. Oh, okay, just a sec. Looks like the pizza's here. Okay, I'm back. Just looking at the sound monitor, it looks like there's a little bit of clipping, so I turned myself down. Just let me know if this is too quiet. I guess I should also switch back my screen. Okay. So where were we? Next up, I guess, was building the actual package. So I guess what I want to do is show how it's done from within the Ubuntu 20.04 machine. And it's crazy, just looking at this thing in the background, it is still not completed. That's not right. Something's wrong there. Does this still happen if I do my direct install? See if I can actually catch it. No, what? Oh, okay. I'm just going to delete this. Let's try from scratch. One more time. Yeah, so this is the architecture options that I was talking about. And so you can see you actually have quite a few options. It's very nice because in Debian you have several different architectures that you have to support. And so you can, even though it can be pretty slow, you can come in here and run like a mainframe architecture like S390X, for example. MIPS 64EL. It's actually some interesting developments going on there in China, for sure. Lungson. I almost wonder if doing this, something about the 1804 settings is problematic. Just curious if anyone is listening in. So I have my fan on overhead. And also I guess my computer fan is kicking up every now and then. I'm just curious. I'm assuming you can probably hear it, but I'm just curious if it's very loud or distracting and so forth. There's an interesting option that I was reading about. I guess Linux audio is kind of complicated, but I guess there's a way to actually I guess I need to have like a noise filter, and so there's like a snap where someone has sort of an out of the box solution. The only problem is I don't necessarily want to use the snap. I would rather implement it sort of myself. But it's there's a video you may have seen where there's this guy who's like a streamer, and he has like I don't know, some like noise making devices. I want to say like a tambourine or something. I don't quite remember. And he's talking while he's hitting that, and it's actually filtering out that noise. And I think it's using machine learning, I want to say. And so it'd be interesting. I almost wonder though. I have an AMD graphics card on this machine, and so it really sucks. One of the things about the nascent field of machine learning is how the ecosystem is kind of dominated by NVIDIA. Okay, and so I don't know, while we're still waiting to see if that VM in the background ever actually gets to doing anything, I'm going to go ahead and set up this container for actual package building. And so oops, I probably didn't want to show that. Maybe we'll just edit it out later. Okay, so yeah, I need to update. By default, the containers in LXD are unprivileged, but you can change that. The only thing is that then, for example, the container could do something. If there's something inside the container where it's like, I should restart some network interfaces, it can actually reach out outside of the container and do that on your host system. And so you can have undesirable side effects by running a unprivileged or by running a privileged container. Okay, and so if I want to set this container up for package building, I want to, let's see, I guess there's a couple options. I'll use PBuilder and git build package, I guess. So just apt install git build package. And then on my host system, I'm going to update so I guess git build package, it's very complicated, the Debian packaging ecosystem. But I would say git build package is sort of a wrapper around other tools. And one of the things you can do is have different builders. And so one of them is PBuilder. Yeah, then there's sort of like a family tree in the same way that you have for like Linux distributions or even Unix. And so it's not really too necessary to learn a bunch about, I guess I would just say, the man pages are probably going to help. So let's say git build package actually has pretty decent man pages. And so if you go down to the very bottom of it and look at C also, you can see, I guess, especially this manual right here. Yeah, so I highly recommend this. And so with PBuilder, you can have different, I guess, pbuilds, pbuilds, I don't remember the terminology. Yeah. Or oops, arch. I went dist. Okay. Oh no, that's not what I want. And so I wanted to create a PBuilder for Ubuntu 20.04, but you can see it's creating something, it's not quite what I want. Okay. So one of the other, I guess, build tools that you have with Debian, besides PBuilder, is sbuild. One of the main differences is, I want to say PBuilder requires sudo. Don't quote me on that though, I can't quite remember. One of them does and one of them doesn't. I guess for me it doesn't really matter since I'm on a home computer, but if you're using a shared resource like one of the Debian build machines, for example, your access is different. And so I think they use shroots, which is like a ch root with something else on top, I don't quite remember. And so you can see I've listed my shroots. It's not exactly, I don't know how you pronounce that, shroot. And so there's a, is this it? Yeah, so Ubuntu Dev Tools. One of the things that's kind of frustrating also about these is that the configuration isn't necessarily really great outside the box. It's the sort of thing where they're like, oh, well, you're expected to configure it yourself. But, you know, I don't know. It's like some people just want to use the tool and not necessarily learn the details of how the tool works. And so I think sbuild will do what I want when I'm on this machine, this local machine. I think one of the things is, I guess, you know, one of the main reasons people use Ubuntu is that it has better defaults than Debian, you know, including using, or actually including Wi-Fi drivers, for example. You know, it's like kind of a pain that if you have just a plain Debian image and you put it on like a laptop that doesn't have supported Wi-Fi, then you just can't connect to the internet by default. And you know, you need like a Ethernet, USB Ethernet adapter nowadays if your laptop doesn't actually have the Ethernet port. You know, and it's also frustrating. I don't know, frustrating. It's like it's not necessarily a situation that will ever get any better because, you know, Debian wants to be free software, and so if they make it too easy in some sense to have the Wi-Fi drivers installed, then, you know, they won't really be free software anymore. If they have these non-free components that they are, you know, they usually say, like, for example, it's not actually part of Debian. Okay, just waiting for this shroot to install. And then I should be able to take this. I guess I can also go ahead and just try to build this now. I don't really remember where I left off. Let's see. Which version of... Yeah, I guess that's one of the problems. I don't know. What am I going to do with the PPA? I may need to add the PySide 2 packages. The newer ones. I guess we'll see. So I guess one way that I could also do the build... I could also just do it directly inside this container. And so I guess that might be an interesting way because it's a little easier for people to do themselves.